Now, a lot of the stuff that's currently ongoing regarding the situation, the security situation in Nigeria, is something that many people didn't see coming. In fact, no one saw it coming. I mean, who would have imagined that any of the Western powers would get involved in this to the point where they're sending troops over here, whether it's for training or whatever reason? Nobody imagined that would happen. And that's because, in most cases, when there's a conflict in Africa, in an African country, what usually happens is, especially when it, you know, concerns the mass elimination of people, the world just looks away and acts like they didn't see it. And even if they do anything, they talk the talk, but hardly ever walk the walk. But this time it's different. And like I said, no one saw it coming. So imagine how MacBan must feel right now. They're in shock. Some people are relieved. And of course, there's controversy going on as they face the terror label by the United States. And MacBan is saying that it's an error. Now, in this development has sent ripples across Nigeria's security and political landscape, as you can imagine it would. The Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, otherwise known as MACBAN, has pushed back against reports that the U.S. Congress designated the group as a terrorist organization. They're insisting that the action is a mistake. Is it really? Now, for many communities who lived for years in fear of violent attacks which are linked to armed herders, it feels like a long-awaited recognition, really. The moment of global attention to their pain, losses, and unanswered cries for justice. To them, it symbolizes accountability. It's a signal that the world is finally listening. However, MacBan has rejected this narrative outrightly, describing it as an error and saying it's misleading and distancing the association from criminal elements. They did what? They said what? They distanced themselves from criminal elements? I am shocked personally because I can remember, especially during the Buhari years, when I think they were at their pinnacle at that time. It was like a buffet for criminals. Now, I remember on many occasions when this same group, first of all, never said anything to commiserate with the victims, but always defended the actions of the killers. I remember at a point the narrative was, such and such number of cows went missing in that area. So if cows go missing, then you wipe out an entire village, and they would always justify such actions. So it's good to know that now they've been pushed they have their backs against the wall, it seems, and they're now saying that they are a lawful socio-cultural body representing pastoralists and should not be joined with violent actors. Well done, Miyetti Allah. But you know what? I think it's a little bit too late for that. Because when you guys were busy supporting terrorism, almost applauding them really, the world was watching. You see, that's something that nobody saw coming. The world was watching and they were taking notes. Now, if confirmed, this designation will carry serious implications, financial restrictions, diplomatic pressure. It also exposes the speed at which misinformation could inflame ethnic and security tensions. That's one danger here. Now, what makes this development explosive in the emotional is the emotional terrain which it touches. Nigeria's so-called farmer-herder conflict, I don't know why anyone calls it that, because or clash rather, saying it's a clash, it means both sides are armed, not one group armed and then the other group asleep in their homes and then the armed group comes and attacks them. That's not a clash, that's a massacre. Now, many lives have been taken by the thousands, entire communities displaced, and of course, there's deepened ethnic suspicion. Any international action, whether it's real or whether it's a rumor, will of course resonate with those who feel justice has evaded them for so long. Yet, a terrorist designation is a formal U.S. executive process, not something casually declared by Congress alone. In other words, they walk the walk, they don't just talk the talk. Without official confirmation from the U.S. State Department, the claim remains uncertain and requires verification. Now, the reality of it is this: there's a hope there's a mixture basically of hope, anger, and confusion. For victims, the moment feels like validation. For Macban, it's damage to their reputation. For Nigeria, it is another reminder of how we have not put our house together and have allowed these tensions to escalate. Nigeria's crisis is growing louder, both locally and internationally, but the difference is now the world is watching more closely than ever.